there was a wild trade rumor that a trade proposal that Colin Cowherd made on the Herd. And look, Colin Cowherd, man, I grew up listening to all these guys: Jim Rome, Colin Cowherd, Dan Patrick, and a lot of times my relationship with Colin Cowherd was driving the car and like he'd say something and no one would be in my car, but I'm yelling at him. I'm walking around my headphones, I'm yelling at him. It's like we're basically arguing all day. So like I love the guy, absolutely 10 out of 10 love him, but like I disagree with like most, if not like probably like I disagree with probably like 45% of things he says.
That's
right?
Stephen A.
Yeah. So like it's cool. It's like I need that. It's like he's like the co-host in your mind, so you can go debate with. He has a really, really wild trade proposal for Matthew Stafford. Now, this is what he had to say about Stafford and the Giants potentially making a run at him. He said, what the Rams want, I am told they want the Giants' first-round pick at number 3, so they probably want a first, a second, a first, a third, but they've got to pay Stafford if you're the Giants. You have to give him a new deal. They'll probably get a first and a fourth, but let's talk about that number 3 pick. The Rams want the number 3 pick in the draft because they're drafting way later. They want to get that pick, move down, and get more picks. Why? So they have extra picks next year when they have to move up to get a quarterback. Now, my response to this is I think the Giants would be out of their minds to give up a number 3 pick for 37-year-old Matthew Stafford. Stafford is a really good quarterback. When he's at his best, he still has a top 5 to 10 arm in the sport. Truth of the matter is, since he signed that contract extension, he's been middle of the pack in most metrics they use to evaluate a quarterback. For example, I mean, he's 19th in QBR since he signed that extension in 22. Now, it does make sense to stockpile picks. I will say that. That does make sense. If you're the Rams and you want to stockpile picks in 2026, that makes sense because that's when you'll want to draft your quarterback if you don't like the guys in this year's class. I think the Rams, they would like to get another receiver or a tight end. I look at Colston Loveland out of Michigan as a guy that can stretch the field. They really wanted Brock Bowers. They were close to trading up for Bowers last draft. They didn't get him. There were talks that they were rumored to trade up for Rome Odunze. They didn't get him. So the Rams clearly want one of those guys. So would the Giants really want Matthew Stafford when are you truly just a Matthew Stafford away from having a Super Bowl run? This is a guy that you could trade for, extend, and then he retires. So I don't love that deal for the Giants, if I'm being completely honest.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I think it makes sense to me. When I look at that division, Matthew Stafford mixed in with Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, and Jaden Daniels, I think he can compete in that division. The Giants have been so bad quarterback play-wise that anybody who comes in that has any type of competence at the position significantly makes them better offensively. You got Malik Neighbors out there. I think Robinson is decent. I really do like Jalen Hyatt, too. I think they have weapons in New York City. I do feel like if I am the head coach, I got to make the call because am I guaranteed to get a quarterback in this draft if somebody shakes up the draft? So if that's the case, I mean, Matthew Stafford, they almost went to the NFC Championship this year. He kind of was balling late into the year. So he still got some juice left in him. Now, if the Giants see it as the Jets situation and don't want to have deja vu in New York all over again, I can see them deciding to pull out of a deal like that. But for Brian Daboll, I mean, he might be kind of desperate.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct in the sense that it would be an improvement and the weapons around him make it enticing. If I'm the Rams and you could get the number 3 pick for Matthew Stafford, and look, I think for me, I go back and forth. And I'm a big Stafford guy, of course, because he won a Super Bowl for the Rams, and it makes a lot of sense because just Super Bowl winning quarterbacks don't grow on trees.
Right.
But the truth is, the fact that they were close last couple of seasons, I don't necessarily means you're so close. Hey, we're a couple pieces away. It could be like, okay, you've maxed out a little bit. I mean, they were 14 yards away from hosting an NFC Championship game against a rookie quarterback, right? In a snowstorm. I mean, if Bo Limmer doesn't get blown up there, then maybe they win that game, right? So you got to give credit to the Eagles for that. But still, if you're the Rams and you're thinking long term, you have this established young defense with a lot of pieces you found. Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, Jared Verse led the league in pressures last season, won Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? If you could get your premier receiver and have those picks for next season. So let's say they got the number 3 pick, they traded down, and they drafted Tedero McMillan. They got T-Mac out of Arizona. Just think about that. Just think about that. And you get your elite wide receiver. It'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, it would be sweet, man. Like, listen, I feel like we're in like this weird crossroad with the quarterback carousel right now, because I think everybody's trying to compete with like 3 guys at the top. And so you're trying to find a way to bridge these gaps. I mean, listen, the Rams are flashy, man. I figure no matter what, Sean McVay in that front office, they have a plan. And I'm not willing to say, Doug, that plan is not going to work, just because they've kind of worked. They worked a miracle this year. They worked a legitimate miracle.
No, absolutely. And the thing is, the way that his contract was restructured was to take all the money for the 2025 and 26 seasons and move them, front load that, so he'd basically be on a 1-year, $40 million deal with the lack of guaranteed money in the future. So the Rams put themselves in a position where if they want to go in a different direction, they can. Matthew Stafford, if he doesn't get the kind of extension he wants with the Rams, they can find a path to use him to get some assets. And I think that it is one of those things. The Rams are a very interesting organization in this. You took Jared Goff with the number 1 pick in the 2016 draft. By the way, they've had 2 first-round picks in the last 10 years. Both of them have been named Jared. If you want to be drafted by the Rams in the first round, you better be named Jared.
Yep.
But they even knew a guy like that who was successful, who had taken them deep into the playoffs, who had taken them to the Super Bowl. They knew when to punt on him and when to upgrade to get Matthew Stafford to ultimately get them over the top. So this is a Rams organization that has shown a willingness to move off of established starting quarterbacks a year or 2 earlier to get themselves over the hump later. So if Sean McVay, who, by the way, I think Sean McVay, if you're going to start an NFL franchise, Sean McVay is certainly in the conversation as far as a culture builder, star. How do you see him flexing, by the way?
He's the one.
Do you see him flexing at the?
I'm a fan.
He was wearing a Super Bowl 56. He had a 3-piece suit on.
I'm a big Sean McVay fan. I love what he does, man.
No, he's that man. So maybe,
he's that guy.
So maybe if he truly is saying, hey, look, I was going to retire. I got the big contract off from Amazon. I didn't accept it. Maybe I am really a head coaching lifer. Maybe I am really going to be here for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And he sees where the game is going. Look at the league. Jalen Hurts, mobile. Patrick Mahomes, mobile. Josh Allen, mobile. Lamar Jackson, mobile. The league is trending towards mobile quarterbacks. You have you limit your offense to a degree. And no matter how great your arm is, you do limit the evolution of your offense to a degree if
you can't move.
You can't move. So if I am like, this is kind of one of those things where it might feel like a step back for sure. And the ultimate question, the number one thing the Rams have to ask themselves is this. This is the number one question they have to ask themselves. Do you think you can win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford in 2025? If the answer is yes, if you've watched all the tape, looked at all the analytics, looked in your heart and believe that's the case, then bring him back. Right. If you have doubts about that, though, you're not going to get any more from him later than you could get from him now, and you wouldn't have to commit to a new contract, and then you can set up the future. And maybe Colin Cowherd has the Rams as a potential destination for Aaron Rodgers. I look at a guy like Justin Fields, right? I mean, someone like that. You could start a mobile type thing. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo as your Band-Aid quarterback, as your stopgap quarterback. But the truth is, I'm not saying that's a winning move or anything like that, but the Rams have always realized that you have to have elite players at the positions that matter. You need to get lead corner. You got Jalen Ramsey. Yep. You're right. You got Von Miller. There's certain positions they don't value. The positions, I mean, running back, right? They gave the Todd Gurley contract. The Rams might never, ever sign a running back again, like to a big contract. Yeah. That's it, right? And I like Whitworth, the left tackle they traded for, and the last time they had Orlando Pace, right? They know you got to have a left tackle, elite quarterback, and that's kind of the recipe for a Super Bowl. So the more I kind of think about it, this Rams organization is not afraid to be bold. If the Giants want to go crazy and seriously consider that number 3 pick, at the very least, you got to think about it. You think long and hard about it for sure.